Hello everyone, this is Meet. I'm pursuing the data science. I'm pursuing an internship in data science and business analytics from the Sparks Foundation. And the objective and the task which was given to me was prediction using unsupervised machine learning. And the objective of this task is I was given an iris data set and I have to predict the optimum number of clusters and I have to represent that visually. So let's get started with the code. So here is the code. So first and foremost thing is we have to import all the necessary libraries which are used for the task. The first thing is we have to import pandas, numpy, seaborn, plotly, etc. Plotly is used for chart visualization, seaborn is used for data visualization, numpy and pandas. Numpy is used for numerical computation and pandas for panel data. Then I just read the CSV file. I just read the first two rows. It shows me the first two rows here. Then a little bit of modification in the data. Here the dataset name was written iris, so that's why I just removed it so that it is clear for me to get the class name. Then I visualize the scatter plot. Yes, this is using the Plotly Express. You get a 3D visualization scatter plots, and these are very interesting scatter plots. You can visualize your data in 3 dimensions, and you can kind of make predictions of to how clusters can be formed and what would be the minimum inertia value, or what would be the minimum number of clusters which can be made. So this was the scatter plot, and here we can see that we can make 3 or 4 clusters from here. That we can make some 3 clusters out of here. One cluster is this is one cluster, and this is one cluster. So our main objective for this thing is to get our centroid values over here. For green, for red is over here, and for blue might be over here. I am not sure about the exact positions, but somewhere over here. Then we get the clusters in this way. In this way we get our clusters. Yeah, and this is our main aim, that we have to place the centroids. These are the main important, or you can say that these are the hotspots of this clusters. These are the hotspots of this clusters. From this centroid, this is the position from where the distance of each and every point is minimum. This is the intercluster distance, and you know and, yeah, and the main aim is obviously that you have to find such a centroid point such that from that point to any other point in your data the distance is minimum. So let us try and figure it out how we can get to that thing. Then I import the label encoder because the prediction or the class which I want to work on is a categorical variable. I need numerical data in order for my machine learning algorithm to work. So I need to convert this categorical thing into numerical thing. So for that I use label encoder. You can use multiple. You can also use pandas, get dummies, or you can also use a map. That's also fine. But label encoder is a good practice of using it, so I used it. Then after label encoding, I get the class values and all those things. Then I have a look at the visualization of the distribution of each and every feature, how each and every feature is distributed. Is it under normal distribution or is it under some other kind of distribution? So I normally use normal distribution to check, because normal distribution is best. It's a good kind of distribution because it gives uh, fairly good results. So I have just picked up my distribution to be normal, and I observed that petal length and petal width are lagging somewhat in the normal distribution things. So that's not an issue because we are not working on making some prediction out of it. We are just working on to get the clusters right. If it was making some classification or prediction, then that would be an task that, okay, I have to scale the values and all those things. Then I have to scale the data, because if I observe this data, this is not under the same scale. Sepal length is somewhere in between 4 to 5, or 4 or 3.5 to 4.5.5 say. Sepal width also is somewhere around 1.5 to 3.5. Petal length 0.5 to 1.5 or 2, and petal width is somewhere in between 0 and 1. So this is not in the same scale. So I have to bring the whole data in the same scale. For that I use standard scaler. we can also use min-max scalar. There is a little bit of difference there. Standard scalar scales the values in between in ranges of -1 and 1, whereas min-max scalar does it in between 0 and 1. That's the only difference. And min-max scalar, it is mostly used in deep learning algorithms, because there the activation functions are generally in that range only, 0 and 1. Rarely you can use tanh function that goes between -1 and 1, but most of the activation functions are in between 0 and 1. So I have choose to use standard scalar. So after fitting the scalar, after transforming the data, then the thing is I have to find the inertia value. Now based on this inertia value, I can find what are the optimal number of clusters. This is one method of finding what are the optimal number of clusters you want. Okay, so here if I there is a property which is available in K-means, that is inertia, CLF dot inertia. So this property helps us to find the point after which the inertia value will suddenly decrease, will keep on decreasing, or will be stable in decreasing. So that chart is actually known as the elbow chart. So here is the elbow chart. We can see that when we are having only one cluster, then the inertia value is 599.99, that is nearly 600. That is not suggested, as it is at the peaks. Then we have at number of clusters equals to 241. Then we have 162, then 135, then 111. Here we can see that why didn't I select 241? You can see that because in near future, suppose in the 5th position or somewhere, if my inertia value increased, then this prediction would be wrong. Then why did I select 162 only? It is clearly visible from the chart that after this point, there is always a sudden decrease. So you can either choose this point or this point. It's your wish. You can choose 3 or 4. Yeah, but when will you get the correct answer? When you try and visualize it, then only you can get the correct thing, that whether the number of clusters equals to 3 is correct, or number of clusters equals to 4 is correct. Now let us see. In this case, as we are having only 3 samples, Setosa, Virginica and versicolor, so we can say that it is 3, but we cannot just come under the conclusion by a general hypothesis of us that it is 3. Okay, so let us try and make out hyperparameter tuning, and let's see what hyperparameter tuning says. Hyperparameter tuning is nothing but tuning the most important parameters under the K-means algorithm. We have to use them, or we have to train them. That is hyperparameter tuning. Actually it is a little bit tricky to understand, but let's do hyperparameter tuning here. After finding the hyperparameter tuning, we get the algorithm which is saying the thing. See, this is saying me 2 clusters, whereas this is saying me 3 clusters. Okay, so this is always random. This is not right, because I have used randomized search CV, right? So I just wanted to see that whether randomized search CV is also giving me 3 or not, but in this case it gave me 2. Okay, no problem. So now if I try to make some plots, then it will be clear with that plot. Here is the 2D visualization with clusters equals to 3. Here I have taken the clusters as 3 and other all parameters. Then I have tested it. Then I got the cluster results. Okay. Then I got the cluster centers. Now this centers, these are the important centers over here. This is the x-axis, y-axis, z-axis. As there are 4 classes, as there are 4 features which I have used: petal length, petal width, sepal length and sepal width. That's the reason why I get 4. And as there are 3 classes, so there are 3 classes and there are 4 features, right? There are 3 classes and 4 features. So according to that, I get this array. This array is very important because it gives me, with this array only, I will use this array to make the visualizations Okay, so this 3 says me these are the 3 classes, and this 4 says me there are 4 features which you have used, namely sepal length, sepal width, petal and petal width. So petal length feature has a petal length feature for Setosa class has somewhere around 125.5 metric. So let's visualize how it actually is. Then comes this 2D visualization. Here I have said plt.scatter train of predictions double equals to 0 comma 0. Now what does this mean is, when the prediction value is 0 and when the prediction and actual class is 0, then you return true. This actually returns true, a boolean value. Okay, when this is true, then you get a point, right? Then you increment the count of it. So we see that the red points are over here. Okay, these are Setosa points, and these are the versicolor points, and these are the what to say Virginica points. These are the Virginica points, and these are the versicolor points, and these are the Setosa points. So this is not looking that much intuitive. Let's figure it out in 3 dimensions. So the same thing, little bit of changes, and here we go for the 3 dimensions. Here we can see that this is a pretty good classification over here, pretty good clustering done by the algorithm when I have chosen n equals to 3. Okay, when I have chosen n equals to 3, because from this point, if I take a distance of any point, it comes out to be minimum, no doubt in it, because it has been trained, and it has been correctly trained on it. So as you can see that this is the as you can see this is the centroid point of it, right? This is the centroid point of it, and from that point we can see there are so many, all the points are very close to it. And for the green, this is the centroid point, and all the points are having a close distance out of it. We can see over this point that this point over here and is close from this point and this point, but in 3 dimensions maybe this might be less and this might be more, who knows. So that's the reason why I moved from 2D diagrams to 3D diagrams, because when you are working with n dimensional arrays, it is better to visualize in 3 dimensions. You can also visualize in 2 dimensions, but you cannot get that clear picture if you visualize in 3. So that is it from my side. Thank you, Sparks Foundation, for giving me such a wonderful opportunity for presenting the tasks and for completing my tasks. Thank you for providing this opportunity. Thank you.